In the sprawling, neon-drenched metropolis of Tokyo, architecture often speaks louder than words. But sometimes, what is left unsaid, what is deliberately hidden beneath layers of concrete and steel, holds the most terrifying secrets. We are drawn tonight to a place where functionality yielded to fear, a towering structure known simply by its vague location, where the laws of engineering were bent, not by structural failure, but by relentless tragedy. This is the legend of the apartment building that chose to surgically remove an entire floor from its blueprint, a desperate attempt to sever ties with a darkness so profound it threatened to swallow the whole building. Listen closely, for the story begins not with a whisper, but with a noticeable, silent gap in the sequence of numbers. The building in question stands anonymous yet notorious among those who understand the city's true anatomy. It appears modern, cold, and utterly sterile. But look closer at the entrance, or specifically at the elevator panel, and the anomaly becomes chillingly clear. As you press the button sequence, your finger moves from 4 directly to 6. There is no 5. No floor 5 exists in the official registry, the architectural diagrams, or the memory of the automated system. It is a mathematical void, a deliberate, calculated omission. This erasure wasn't due to structural defect or administrative error. It was an act of architectural exorcism, performed because the toll of human life exacted on that specific elevation became catastrophically overwhelming. The air pressure in the lobby feels heavier, the temperature inexplicably colder. The rumors trace back several decades, painting a picture of a structure initially plagued by terrible misfortune. It began subtly, a sudden, inexplicable illness on the 5th floor, a string of financial ruin among its tenants. But the subtle misfortune soon escalated into horror. The 5th floor became a stage for a relentless cycle of self-inflicted demise. One by one, residents of that particular level found themselves unable to cope with the mounting, unseen pressure. The methods varied, but the location remained terrifyingly consistent. The building earned a reputation, whispered in hushed tones, as the killer high-rise. Landlords tried everything: repainting, deep cleaning, ritual purification. Nothing stopped the darkness from reclaiming the space, always gravitating back to that single cursed altitude, the 5th floor. The speed at which the tragedies accelerated was what truly terrified authorities. It wasn't a steady trickle, it was a flood. Official reports, which remain sealed or heavily redacted, speak of contagion, though not a biological one. It was a psychological plague that seemed to seep through the floorboards and ventilation systems. Every new tenant moving into the 5th floor, despite being unaware of the history, would rapidly succumb to intense paranoia, crushing despair, and ultimately, self-destruction. The city government and the building owners realized they were facing something beyond typical misfortune. They weren't fighting residents, they were fighting the space itself, an area defined by misery. The floor was actively rejecting life, operating as a gravitational singularity for hopelessness. Eyewitness accounts from residents who lived on the 4th and 6th floors are perhaps the most disturbing evidence. They didn't just hear strange noises, they felt the void. Tenants on floor 4 reported constant, overwhelming pressure on their ceilings, like something vast and heavy resting just above them. Those on floor 6 complained of an icy draft rising through the floor vents, often accompanied by faint, indistinguishable weeping. Official inspections found nothing structurally wrong, no leaky pipes, no foundation issues, yet the fear was palpable. One elderly resident of the 6th floor claimed that every night, the internal mechanism of the elevator would audibly pause, slowing as it passed the erased level, as if acknowledging a presence that was no longer supposed to exist. The breaking point came with the incident of the entire family of 4, who, having just moved in, vanished within 48 hours, leaving behind their untouched belongings and a disturbing note scrawled on the wall in an unknown language. This wasn't suicide, it was erasure. The investigation yielded no bodies, no forced entry, and no logical explanation. This event forced the hand of the property developers. The building became completely uninsurable, and the negative publicity threatened to destabilize the entire neighborhood. They decided on a drastic, unprecedented measure to declare the fifth floor non-existent for all intents and purposes. If you cannot stop the darkness from residing there, you must pretend the place where the darkness resides is simply not there at all. The physical process was meticulous and deeply unsettling. The elevator controls were rewired entirely, electronically bypassing the fifth floor destination. The doors to the fifth floor were welded shut from the inside, and the only access point, a maintenance stairwell, was bricked up and disguised with concrete plaster, making the hallway appear seamless and continuous between the fourth and sixth floor staircases. The floor was legally removed from city planning records, effectively creating a black zone in the building's heart. For the few maintenance workers required to verify the ceiling, the atmosphere inside that bricked-off level was described as suffocating, silent, and permeated by a smell they could only describe as electric rot. When the renovation was complete, the building was reintroduced to the market, now labeled as Floor 4 directly connects to Floor 6. The public, initially horrified, slowly began to accept the strangeness. But the residents who remained, or the few adventurous ones who moved in later, understood the lie. Every time the elevator car makes its ascent, there is a distinct, agonizing moment of silence between the fourth and sixth floors. The lights dim slightly. The whole car shudders. It is the architectural equivalent of holding your breath while crossing a graveyard. They removed the number, but they did not remove the space. They simply sealed the stage and left the audience, the surviving tenants, to hear the echoes of the performance contained within the darkness. But the true horror lies not in the act of erasing the floor, but in the official rationale given for the action. The public was told it was to halt the wave of suicides, to break the psychological cycle. But insiders, those close to the developer's final decision, hint at a deeper, far more terrifying truth. Why weld the door shut if the goal was simply to remove the option to live there? Why go through the immense legal and financial difficulty of officially voiding the level, unless what was residing there was considered not just dangerous, but actively contagious? The deletion wasn't preventative, it was containment. The deaths were never the central problem, merely the bait. The true purpose of the fifth floor had changed, and the developers needed to cut the line before the entire structure became compromised. The suicides and disappearances, it is rumored, were not the result of a curse on the floor, but rather the culmination of a ritual unwittingly carried out by the despairing residents. Every tragedy, every desperate final breath taken on that floor fed an entity, growing in power, using the collective trauma as its nourishment. By the time the family vanished, the fifth floor was no longer an apartment level. It was a conduit. It was a physical point in space where the barriers between dimensions had been weakened by misery. The management didn't delete the floor to stop people from dying there. They deleted it because what they had left on the floor was no longer human, and they needed to sever its access to the rest of the building before it could spread its influence horizontally or vertically. The plot twist that haunts the employees who sealed the floor is this: they didn't solve the problem, they simply caged it. They left the entity in the dark, silent space between the fourth and sixth floors, trapped within its concrete confines, still hungry, still waiting. The elevator bypass isn't just a convenience, it's a constant warning, a reminder that you are passing directly over a grave that has been sealed vertically. The air pressure drop, the momentary shudder, the flickering light, that is the creature trying to reach out, testing the strength of the barrier. And while the number 5 is gone from the panel, every resident knows that every night, something is watching the elevator shaft from behind the sealed doors, ensuring that no one ever forgets the floor that Tokyo erased but couldn't truly empty. So the silent floor remains, a monument to despair, and a testament to the chilling lengths humans will go to in order to contain the supernatural. The next time you find yourself in a modern high-rise, Pause at the elevator panel. Count the numbers carefully. And if you notice an unnatural skip, a break in the rhythm of the ascent, remember the fate of the erased floor in Tokyo. Some voids are meant to be filled. Others are meant to be sealed forever, lest what lies beneath consumes the world above. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on the darkest corners and hidden mysteries the world has tried to forget.